Welcome to the Pink Sphere podcast. This is your 30 minutes of pink, your weekly space to pause, breathe, and tune into something that might just change the way you move through the world. And in today's episode, we're joined by Gemma. She's a transformational coach for female founders and leaders, and we're going to jump right in with our amazing questions for her. Hi, Gemma, how are you?
Hi Nadine, I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm really excited for this episode because as a female founder myself, I'm really excited to learn more about this topic, and I have really amazing questions prepared for you. Are you ready? Okay.
Fantastic. Let's go.
So I just want to ask something that I'm curious. When you look at women in business today, what feels different compared to a few years ago? What are the realities we don't often talk about?
Okay, well, what feels different, I think, is we're stepping into our power a little bit more. And by that, I mean, I feel like we're starting to become more unapologetically ourselves, which is fantastic because running a business can be one of the most rewarding and one of the most challenging things
Absolutely.
for anyone. It's such an intense journey, but for women, beyond the universal pressures of being an entrepreneur, we have all these other complexities, right? All these other realities, and we play so many roles as like parent, partner, carer,
Yeah.
and we're water carriers. That feminine energy, like we absorb like everything. And
Hmm.
I feel like for too long, and certainly that's my own story as well, we were trying to hustle. There's so much conditioning from society, from different cultures, and just what it is to be a woman. And we're trying to fit in what was a man's world,
Yeah.
and we're not doing it anymore. And the more women that talk about this and tell their stories of transformation and show
Hmm.
how you can now lead from a place of feminine strength,
Yeah.
not in that world that's historically generally been male dominated, very
Yeah.
competitive and
Yeah.
based on achievement.
Hmm.
So for more women speaking out, more women doing like the inner work and becoming more authentic and living more aligned lives,
Yeah.
and then sharing like the positivity that comes from that, I think
Hmm.
it'd be a wonderful time to be a woman in business.
Yeah, it is. And you touched your story, right? I want to learn more about it. What got you to do this? Work with female founders.
Okay, so do you want the long version or it's
Well,
quite a colourful story?
I want a long version, but because we have such a limited time, I'll
Yeah.
go with the short one. Yeah.
Okay. So I was in the corporate world until about 10 years ago.
Hmm.
So my journey started off in media. So I moved from a small town in Somerset that was, sorry, mum, a little bit boring, and I didn't see very many opportunities. And I kind of always had it in me to I wanted to live in a big city.
Yeah.
So I kind of started hustling, I guess, from a very young age. So
Hmm.
at university, I decided I was going to move to London. I was going to work in fashion, and
Yeah.
everyone was like, "How are you going to do that?" Somehow I did it. And then I got into media and advertising, and I had a really good time in my 20s,
Hmm.
working with clients and interesting projects. And then, as you get a little bit older, different things start to happen in life, and you start to feel like, maybe this isn't necessarily what I should be doing or what else there is. And then I had my daughter, and everything changed.
Yeah.
And
It
after
it always does, It
it
always does.
always does. It just shifts your entire like perspective.
Yeah.
And I tried to go back to work after maternity leave, and everything was different. I'd kind of led the team before, but there was a new manager there now, and I was trying to keep my brain really fresh when I was on maternity leave. So
Hmm.
I was geeking out on machine learning and got quite into tech. So when I went
Awesome.
back to work, yeah, and this is the turning point. When I went back to work, I pitched the idea of turning our advertising company into machine learning, so using tech and AI for better targeting, better
Hmm.
services for people. And I can't remember the exact words, but it was something on the lines of, "You can't do this. You're a mum now. What do you know
Ah,
about tech?"
oh,
So Tiger Mum comes out, which I didn't know I had in me. So I pulled
amazing. We all have it.
Yeah, we do. So that was a surprise. And later that week, I quit my job and I took all of my clients with me and I started my first company.
Yeah.
with no backup at all. I just did
Mm-hmm.
it. I was like, okay, I'm here. I need to make it happen. And then I built that company with a partner, and we sold it within a year.
Wow.
So that was a really big achievement.
It was, yeah.
Shortly after I'd sold that business, which involved not being with my family, not being with my daughter, flying to and from New York, hustling, being, I contracted meningitis and ended up in hospital.
Oh.
And that was a massive, massive turning point. And I remember lying there thinking, oh goodness, I've just achieved this and that and that, and I'm successful. And I was lying there alone in this bed thinking, oh my God, like I I don't know my daughter like that well, and I
Yeah.
haven't had that icky conversation I needed to have with my mum, and all of these things.
They
So that
just
was
start
real,
showing up, yeah.
yeah. And I don't know if you've experienced, a pivotal moment like that in your life.
I
Um,
did. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think a lot of us have. But even then, the responsibilities of what it is to be a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got back into my head and I went back into that field and set up another company.
Yeah.
So it's a long, this inner transformation. It took a lot. And
Yeah.
then I won't go into all the other details, but 2 years ago, I left everything. I left my marriage, I left my business,
Fresh
and
start.
yeah, and this is when I started rebuilding from the ground up. And that's when I decided to get into coaching
Yeah.
because I really wish there'd been someone for me.
Yeah. The similar reason that I founded the Pink Sphere. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you're building with your community. And I think the best businesses, particularly like being built by women, is when
Mm-hmm.
you've had that lived
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely. Someone that gets you. Yeah.
Yes, one that gets you. Yeah.
Yeah, when you mentioned feeling successful, but
Mm,
still feeling something that's missing, on our many events, I've noticed like a lot of successful women reach their goals, but end up feeling empty or somehow disconnected. Why do
mm,
you think joy sometimes disappears right after we make it or we feel successful?
mhm. Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I mean, I can speak to my own experience, but it might be more useful for listeners to talk a little bit about
Hmm.
some of my clients' experience, so where we can see like where the pattern is,
Yeah.
and it always seems to come down to misalignment.
Hmm.
So, trying to build a business or a company or success on somebody else's view of what that is,
Yeah.
or trying to achieve very often external goals, be that financial success, some kind of validation in some way, rather than building something from a place of purpose and alignment. So, a lot of the women that I've worked with, one very recently, in fact, they they had all the capabilities of running a business and being a business owner, but they weren't in the right environment and they didn't feel like they had the power to be able to change that environment.
Hmm.
So we did a lot of work about, unpacking limited beliefs and the reasons why she was kind of in that company in the first place. And it was very interesting what happened because we had to go right back to the beginning and start with core values.
Yeah.
And this happens with most of the clients that I work with. And in the program that I deliver, that's the first module that we do. We go back to basics and we say, right, let's look at what your core values are.
Hmm.
This is your inner compass, your foundation
Hmm.
of how you want your life to unfold in work, and in life, family
Hmm.
relationships.
Hmm.
And so many women didn't know,
Yeah.
and nobody had asked them before. So they were building something and they got that external success
Yeah.
and validation, but it felt hollow and it felt empty. Maybe they'd got it in a way that wasn't aligned with their values.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
they didn't know what they were, they couldn't identify
Yeah.
there was a lack of joy. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. It does.
Mm.
And do you think women are still chasing this polished, impossible version of success, or are we finally starting to rewrite what that looks like?
I think there's a lot of wonderful things happening. I think we are starting to rewrite it. And as I mentioned earlier, with storytelling and listening to other women that have walked the path that you want to walk really,
Mhm.
really helps. There's a long way to go for sure. An example I could give, I suppose, is I'm in the investor field a lot. I work with a lot of founders that are getting confident to raise investment, and we
Mhm.
do like the inner work for the outer work. So I do a lot of pitch practice with them, that kind of thing. And there's still an expectation that women need to show up in a certain way, in a traditionally masculine way. So, for instance, when as entrepreneurs when they're pitching, a
Mhm.
man will often come with all of the numbers, all of the facts, and all of the projections that a VC investor might want to see,
Yeah.
and they might get that investment, but they might not be able to sustain it. A
Yes.
woman, on the other hand, might show up in a different way. She might tell her story. She might come from her place of passion,
Yeah.
but she will be judged for not having the numbers and sometimes can be discarded in that way. But she is more likely to have done the,
Yeah.
preparation work and have the integrity
Do you
to.
think women tend to bring their emotions to the work they're doing, on the contrary to men?
I think the answer is yes. I think the misalignment comes when we try not to and we wear a mask. And I don't think we should be apologizing for that anymore because personally, I think it's a super.
Yeah.
So, advice I would give to business women looking to raise funds is to look for an aligned investor
Hmm.
that you can work with, that's aligned with you, where you don't have to wear a mask, where they can support you in your growth. And we just have to. The trajectory is happening now, and I think as
Hmm.
we have to kind of hold our ground, and we have to, even in the face of challenges, it's important to show up as
Yeah.
ourselves. And being an emotional being is human. I would, I've made a couple of angel investments, and
Hmm.
it always comes down to the people and the person and how they show up.
Yeah.
The product can be amazing, the market fit can be perfect, the scalability can be awesome.
Hmm.
But if you can't show up as you, then how are you going to build a business and a culture, and how
Yeah.
are you going to lead?
How are you going to stand out?
How are you going to, yeah, how are you going to stand out? So I'm loving seeing so many women step into the limelight now.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to lead as well. So just to add on to that question there, a lot of coaching that I do is a lot of women find it difficult to balance being visible without oversharing.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And you have to do it right. So everyone's on social media and LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
do
I
a
was
lot.
just going
Yeah.
to ask you something about that. As a business owner myself, I feel like there's so much pressure to be visible online, but also to be taken seriously, like you said. How do you
Mhm.
think women can balance that, like showing up authentically without feeling like they have to prove their credibility every day?
Yeah. So what I find seems to resonate the most and encourage women to be able to do that in their way is talking about sharing. Well, so first of all, when you do the value work
Mm-hmm.
and then you realize that you really have something valuable to offer the world and that needs to be shared,
Mm-hmm.
not pushed or forced or chased, but shared. And particularly because I work with women in the impact
Yeah.
space, so they're building businesses, like yourself,
Yeah.
is going to have a positive impact on society, well-being, etc. It's kind of like it's our responsibility to put that out there. And when you say responsibility to women, we, our hats that we wear. So I'm not sure how healthy that is, but I do believe in that. And what it does, it takes away like that feeling we can have of not only fear of putting ourselves out there for being judged or criticized, which happens more to women than men, but that feeling that we might not want to overshare, or,
Mm-hmm.
or we don't want to be kind of ramming things down
Yeah.
people's throats. So when you're building something from a sense of purpose and impact, and you see it as your responsibility to share information, let people know that that service is available,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a bit easier to do all the social media stuff because you're not forcing, selling, or hustling. You are
Yeah.
sharing. And it just takes one person to see what you're offering that might need you at that moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And women in leadership are often told to be, like you said, soft and strong, nurturing and assertive. How do you personally navigate that mix without losing yourself in the process? Or, I don't know.
Okay, that's a really good question. It used to be a big glass of white wine, but that doesn't happen anymore. One or two, maybe. um, I mean, I've started taking care of myself after a couple of health scares, and being a mum.
Yeah.
I was forced to kind of change my coping mechanisms when things
Mm-hmm.
got stressful. So, coaching for me, when I'm with a client, I always spend an hour before
Mm-hmm.
really grounding myself, getting in a place of like really calm, present energy. And that process itself is wonderful for me as well as my client. So through being a coach, that helps me do that. But I am trying harder to enforce boundaries,
Ah,
which is something I have not been very good at in the past.
yeah.
When you need to say, I can't do that, or I don't have time for this, or I'm choosing this,
Mm-hmm.
and not I'm sorry or but something else, and then you lax on them.
Yeah.
I find incredibly hard, but with practice, it's coming. And meditation. I actually do a lot of guided meditations.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm feeling like particularly stressed or a little bit unbalanced, I will take myself off to a dark room just for like 15, 20 minutes, put my headphones in, close my eyes, and do like a guided meditation just to calm
Mm-hmm.
me down. I would like to say I go to the gym every day and I go running every day, but I don't. When I do, I feel great afterwards. So I guess the answer is I'm still working on it. But what I would say to the listeners is it's very important to try and find a balance holistically. So mind, body, and soul or spirit, however you prefer.
Yeah.
And that's something that I am learning a lot in recent
Mm-hmm.
years. There's things you can do to discipline your mind,
Yeah.
but it might show up in the body. And then, there's other things going on, which I refer to as spirituality, which will be your intuition or, that voice that speaks to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a couple, right? There's the one on this side, which might be your ego saying, what makes you think you can do that? It
The
wants to keep,
saboteurs, all the saboteurs. Yeah.
yes, yeah. I
Yeah.
give them a little name sometimes.
That's a good one.
Hold on here. um, but sometimes what helps with that is actually seeing that voice, that saboteur as your friend in a way, because it's your ego chatting, right? And it's our egos want to keep us safe. They want us to keep
Hmm.
doing things that are familiar, and that isn't good for growth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
instead of letting your mind take over and letting fear stop you doing things, that's why I meditate. You need to take some time to close your eyes and let that voice go blah, 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 till it wears
Hmm.
itself out and then say, it's okay. I see you. It's going to be fine. We're just growing a little bit.
Yeah. They're basically like your group of friends. Some of them
Yes.
support
Yeah.
you, some of them are jealous of you, but don't say it out loud. Those
Yeah.
are like your friends, but you either choose to grow or they take you down. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's important to remember that everybody has them.
Yeah.
So if you don't take it personally and think it's just you that has, and it's limiting beliefs, it's conditioning, it's programming, and for women, there's so much to like unpick there.
Hmm.
But nothing happens when you stay comfortable. You have to be a little bit
Yeah.
uncomfortable to
Yeah.
to grow.
Yeah. This is me being uncomfortable having this podcast.
Oh, is it really? You're so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you joined me and joined the Pink Sphere at the very beginning, you would have known that this was my biggest step coming out of my comfort zone, because speaking in English, which is not my native language, and speaking in front of the camera, I couldn't even imagine doing that. But I challenged myself. I thought, if I'm here, leading the Pink Sphere, and I'm telling all those amazing ladies to step out of their comfort zone,
Mhm.
take a step forward, I should start by doing it myself. So I
Yeah.
started recording this podcast. So we all should start learning, even a small step just
Mhm.
forward, just get us
Mhm.
out there.
Yeah.
And I want to know, looking at your own business journey, own life story, what's one lesson that completely surprised you? Something you only learned by living it?
Oh, let me think. Just one lesson? There's a few.
Okay, you can give me two or three.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay. I know what it is then. And it's actually the first thing you see when you go to my website. And I can sum it up as you don't need to hustle, you just need to be you.
Okay.
So when I started being more and doing less, I've been so much happier. Things are starting to unfold in more of a way where I'm attracting
Mhm.
things and people, environments and
Yeah.
opportunities into my life that are aligned
Hmm.
with where I want to be now. And it's not come from hustling, forcing, selling, which is what I was doing before. It's actually come from being still,
Yeah,
which is the biggest, most wonderful surprise, I think.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
And I
welcome.
also want to know, you mentioned feminine energy a lot in business. What
Mhm.
does that actually look like in daily decisions or meetings or how you lead your team? How does it show up?
Mhm. Okay, so I mean, feminine energy can mean something different to every woman.
Hmm.
For me, it means my natural state, I suppose, is very soft. I can definitely be assertive, and that means you show that through your behavior, right? Through having boundaries, through being clear, through being
Hmm.
impeccable with your word. But yeah, the feminine energy, I think, is about balance. It's about coming from a place, taking care of yourself first, having that inner alignment, doing the holistic work. So, what I was talking about earlier, and then leading a business, company, people, relationships
Yeah.
from that place. So, for me, feminine energy, when we're aligned, is like calm, grounded, present,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
purpose. So,
Hmm.
when everything is chaotic around us, we are the ones that
Yeah.
not going to hold it all together, which is kind of what might have happened before, or the feeling we can have. We're choosing to be grounded, calm, and present. And yeah, for me, it's about nurturing as well. I
Hmm.
get the most out of business and when I'm with clients, when I'm seeing someone else flourish, and I might have had like a small part in that. If I'm just mirroring something back to them, or
Yeah.
encouraging them, or and I love it so much when I have a coaching session and I'm with a client and they are talking about their growth or development or maybe a problem or a challenge,
Hmm.
and we've done the transformational work and I don't need to say anything. So I would
Hmm.
sit in a calm, grounded presence place, and I might say they might say one limited belief, and I'm like, is that true, really? And then you're kind of mirroring back what they all decide, and they're like, oh, actually, no, and they come to their own conclusions, and they
Hmm.
so I find that really rewarding, and that for me is being feminine.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had to practice a lot when I first started coaching. I'd be so excited speaking to people, and I wanted to talk a
Yeah.
lot more. And actually, I really think a good coach, the most important thing is listening, active.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we have a feminine energy coach at the Pink Sphere, and we actually have two episodes with her. I don't know if you had a chance to check it out.
Oh, I will.
Um, One of them is about awakening the feminine energy, and the other one is how feminine energy shows up in relationships. So, you can check that out, and our listeners can do that as well. And I want to learn more about how feminine energy can show up in business. Perhaps we can do a collab episode with her and you together. It would be really exciting.
Yeah.
But back to our topic, I want to learn more about the community. Building a business,
Mhm.
and I felt it myself, can feel really lonely. How important has community been in your journey? And what kind of support do you think women leaders need the most from a community?
Okay. So initially, the support that I had was I actually felt a little bit isolated because I
Hmm.
moved from a very male dominated environment to begin with.
Yeah.
I was working in pharma advertising for a long time,
Yeah.
75% male. And oh God, I used to show up wearing so many masks in that position. Um, so it was quite isolating to begin with. But what really helped me actually was a very good friend of mine. She runs a social enterprise. She moved into her social impact journey before me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually her that kind of encouraged me into that as well. So I think finding that one person, and you just need one person who
Yeah.
has done it before or is on that path that you can kind of use as a mentor for
Hmm.
you to kind of bounce ideas from, who you can just call and say, look, my head's full of like all this stuff. Can I just offload for a little bit?
Yeah.
And they'll like give space for you. So I think find that one person, that one confidant. Could be a mentor, could be a coach, could be someone that you know or not. It doesn't really matter. But you do need that. And then from there to start reaching out to different networks and communities.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm very lucky in that I'm an investor for Nexus Connected, and they have a huge female community. So they do in-person events, and I go along to that. And I support the leadership team a little bit at a time. So I'm always invited to these things, and I meet
Yeah.
lots of wonderful women there. And there's things you can do online and offline. So find that at the very early stage, find one person, just one person, that you can connect to and use as
Mm-hmm.
a sounding board. And from there, don't be scared to reach out to people on LinkedIn or socials and say, I've seen what you're doing. I'm very curious. Can you tell me more? And open up a
Yeah.
conversation. And, communities like the Pink Sphere, for instance, like
Yeah.
incredible. And, what you're offering and building, I've got so much admiration for. And it's so needed because what you do as well is you allow women to show up as they are without
Yeah.
even really knowing what they need.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen that before
Yeah.
anywhere, and it's so needed. So I personally am very grateful for you building this
Yeah.
company.
I appreciate your presence. I really do. So, for someone who's just starting out, or
Yeah.
someone like me who's still building,
Mhm.
who are maybe nervous or underfunded or figuring it out alone, what
Mhm.
would your top tip be? Or it could be an inspirational quote or whatever you want to share. Just one thing.
Okay, so just one thing would be, do you know what I think it would be? It would be have a self-care plan.
Hmm.
Have a self-care plan in place,
Yeah.
because you can learn how to pitch, you can learn how to show up in front of investors, you can learn to write a business plan, all the things associated with that. But it would be to get yourself grounded, get a support network around you, and do that at the beginning before you even
Hmm.
start.
Yeah.
So find that mentor, think about your core values, which are going to be your inner compass that you will keep
Hmm.
coming back to.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the best possible thing you could do. Look at your core values, identify them. There's Brené Brown on her website, she has a list of like 50 or something. Maybe you want to direct your viewers to that, but spend some time, even with another person, working out what they are before you even step foot into the business world.
Hmm.
Get your inner world nice and secure. Have a plan, have an exercise plan, work out how you're gonna have your mind, body, and spirit aligned before you even start.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was a good one. That was a good one. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And thank you for all the amazing answers, Gemma. And that's it for today's 30 Minutes of Pink. If this episode spoke to you, hit subscribe, share your comments, share your questions for Gemma or me in the comments, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.
You bye.